Former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson might be running again to become the next Tory leader after the dramatic resignation of Liz Truss. According to reports, Johnson has said that it is in the national interest for him to stage a return to 10 Downing Street. Backers of Boris Johnson in the ruling Conservative Party are calling for his return, while critics are calling it an insult to the British people. Johnson, who was ousted as Britain's leader in July, has not declared his candidacy yet, but he is eligible as he remains a Conservative MP. Now, during his farewell speech, Johnson had sparked speculation about a possible return to the top job when he made a reference about the Roman statesman Lucius Cincinnatus, who left Rome to work on his farm but was later called upon to return to Rome and lead the country.
And like Cincinnatus, I am returning to my plough. And I will be offering this government nothing but the most fervent support.
The former British Prime Minister, who studied classics at the University of Oxford, had made a reference about the Roman statesman who left his farm to come back to work in Rome. He was later called upon to return to Rome, leading the country. Now, Johnson's candidacy would be a dramatic twist, even in a period of unprecedented chaos in British politics since the 2016 Brexit referendum. The Tory leadership race is due to be completed by next Friday. So far, no candidates have formally declared their intention to run for 10 Downing Street. But prominent figures, including ex-Chancellor Rishi Sunak and Cabinet Minister Penny Mordaunt, are expected to throw their hats into the ring. Now, for more on this, we are being joined by our correspondent, Alex Isaac, and also by Greg Swenson, who is a political and economic commentator. Thank you both to being with us. Alex, we'll start with you. What is the word from the ground? Who do you think has the upper hand in the race to be the next Tory leader?
Well, it seems a lot of people are coming forward asking for Boris to get a second chance. We even had that tweet from Ukraine that was deleted saying that they back Boris. Jacob Rees-Mogg also said on Twitter that it's Boris or bust. But it does seem that within the MPs that there is still that huge faction that doesn't want Boris back. That he was ousted. And don't forget, he's still going through an inquiry at the moment about Partygate. And that is technically, if that goes through, potentially somewhere that he should be resigned as his position, not just as the Prime Minister, but as an MP as well, because that led to a lot of people in the public getting really angry at Boris Johnson. And people have forgotten that. The MPs seem to have forgotten that actually the public's disdain for Boris Johnson is still there. So if he does make this huge shock comeback like his hero Churchill, then they have to think about what do the public really want. And we are quickly running towards another general election, 2 years from now or even sooner if Lib Dems and Labour get their way. And this doesn't look like it's a very sensible idea. Obviously, we've got Rishi Sunak there also, who supposedly has 45 members backing him already. They had to get 100 members in total to go through on Monday when the nominations closed, and then obviously it gets announced on the Friday after. So at the moment, it's all up in the air because there is no official statements as to even Boris coming back from his holiday at the moment. His father had mentioned today as well that he wasn't sure if his son was running. So we don't know exactly. There's a lot of hot air that's going around that want Boris, but they really do need to be thinking about what do the public want? What do the public need?
Right. Greg, coming to you, it seems like it might be Johnson versus Sunak. Who do you think could be the next UK Prime Minister and why?
Well, it surely looks that way. And I just have to recall for the viewers that Boris Johnson won, an 80-seat landslide, really a mandate back in 2019. Yes, there's been a lot of damage since then, especially recently with Partygate, and that could end up derailing him again. But, this is a really great retail politician. And I think if it was left to the people, he would surely win again. Again, going back to that 80-seat majority. Liz Truss, although I liked her policies, and I think it was a really well overdue moment for the Conservatives to return to actual conservative policy, especially around the economy. But she didn't have the mandate. She didn't have that she didn't win that landslide majority like Boris did in 2019. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Boris win, although what we've all learned in the last few weeks is everything is so unpredictable right now. I'd be a little bit cautious about making predictions with confidence. But yes, it looks like it'll be either Rishi or Boris. And we'll see. Remember that the MPs do like Rishi and actually supported him over Liz Truss in the last election. But it's the members who preferred Liz Truss. So I think the members would prefer Boris as well.
Right. And Greg, as the Tories huddle to decide who would be their next leader, what about Britons who are expecting a respite from rising inflation?
Well, it's a great question, and I don't think there's going to be any easy cure or fast remedy for that because it takes time. The Bank of England has been way behind the curve. So if anybody should take some heat, I think Liz Truss is really in some ways the scapegoat here. The inflation was caused by Boris and Rishi, who were spending recklessly, and the government. The fall in the pound is not on Liz Truss, of course, but a lot of the inflation was caused by the Bank of England keeping rates too low for too long and not responding to the early signals of inflation. So I think that there's going to need some longer term solutions like Liz Truss proposed, but unfortunately, she went out of the gates too fast with that. She didn't educate the public. But I would hope the Conservative Party goes back to addressing supply side issues, deregulation, tax reform, not just for temporary relief, but actually to liberate the supply side and bring prices down by increasing productivity. That's going to take some time. She tried to do it without the mandate that Mrs. Thatcher had 40 years ago and the mandate that even Boris had 3 years ago. But I think hopefully the party will return to some of those basic principles and just take their time educating the public on it.
Right. Greg, stay with us. Alex, back to you. Can you also briefly sum up on what the UK newspapers are saying on the exit of Truss and the ensuing political drama that's been unfolding there?
Yes, of course. Well, it seems the newspapers are really keen to talk about Boris more than they are about Truss's resignation. She only gave 5 minutes in a statement, and there was obviously those rumours straight away that Boris was going to be coming back in. So there's a lot of chatter in the newspapers about what could it mean if Boris does get back into that role. I really don't agree that he has the public backing him. And actually, there's quite a lot of members also that don't back him. Of course, when Partygate came out, there was a lot of talk about resignations. And there are a few other MPs out there that say that they will resign again if they find out that Boris Johnson is going to be taken on that leadership role. So there's a lot of the newspapers are also generally talking about the general election, and maybe we should be seeing a general election so the public can decide what exactly they want for the government. Because ultimately people do want stability. That's what we're all looking for now, and that's a lot of conversations that we're seeing around just wanting to know what's going to be happening in the next few months. This contest, it was going to be running up until the 28th, so we'll see on the 31st when we get that forecast. But realistically, they do want some policies put in place to see us through for the cost of living crisis that we're affecting. And it does seem that this is just a small bit of novelty in the meantime that actually just needs to get out of the way so that we can continue finding out what the policies and how much the country is in debt and how we can fix it.
Right. Alex, Greg, thank you both.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.